Hi, everyone. Hi, welcome. So, for those who don't know, I'm Allison, CEO and founder of Sleep of Mind. And I'm here with Daniel King. He is a sleep coach, and he's also founder of Daniel King Coaching. Is also owner of the sleep healing community, something you guys definitely have to check out. But I think the best thing about him is that he has helped hundreds of people over the past 8 years fix their sleep. So that's why I'm so interested to talk to him today. If you have sleep issues, please stay tuned. You're going to get some awesome information. And I'm going to actually throw it to Daniel so that he can tell you a little bit more about his journey and why he got to this place helping so many people over the past 8 years. Daniel, let us know.
Thanks, Allison. So happy to be here. And yeah, my journey was a bit of a wild one. In my early 20s, I was sleeping poorly probably through high school, but in my early 20s, I got to the point that I lost my memory, recall, my ability to almost work and have normal relationships. And it was intense. It felt like I was on death's doorstep. I was waking up and going to bed in tears because I was getting somewhere between a shabby, 2 to 3 hours in a night. And um, it was a challenging time. And what that lit, and I was lucky that it did this, it lit a fire under me to want to heal. Um, and because I knew this is like, it was either that or I was going to call it quits. It was truly at that place. And so I spent the next 10 years, unfortunately, it took about 10 years and about $180,000, no exaggeration there, to figure this thing out. And I started with all the conventional medicines and the sleep studies and everything Western medicine could throw at me. That didn't get me so far. Then I went to more experimental things. I mean, Chinese medicine doctors, acupuncturists, neurofeedback, every biohacking device I can get my hands on. I was flying around the US looking for the top clinics I could find to try to get to some sort of root. So hence why that was a cost a pretty penny. But in that process, I actually found my real healing to not come from all this biological expenditures and interventions. They have a place. They were helpful to some degree, but the far majority of the healing came from internal work, holistic work, mind, body, heart work. So that's why and how I became a coach, is I realized there was such an issue with like the lack of education, understanding
Mm.
around sleep. And it took me 10 years and all that money, and I know most people wouldn't be able to be able to get that kind of support. So I felt not only a purpose, a passion, a necessity to get into this, and now it's like I love it more than anything. And I'm so grateful actually for that journey because it brought me here, which is an ironic thing to say, to go through all that shit and to come here and be able to, but to be able to come here and offer support for people and see people improve their sleep is so gratifying, to take them out of that place of suffering. So uh, yeah, it's a little
Yeah.
bit about my background.
I mean, I can totally relate. I think that a lot of people who are in a position of helping lots of folks have stories, similar to ours, going through hardship, experiencing it firsthand, that pain for yourself. Just like how I did with my daughter who just never ever slept for 3 months.
Right.
Yeah, going through the no sleep phase and diving real deep into everything and anything there was to learn about sleep and having, trying to fix that, and then fixing it and passing it on. It's totally what I've been about as well. So I completely identify.
Yeah.
But you know what? I think that one of the things I love about, the insights that you talk about, are almost kind of like, reframing insomnia. And that's a huge term out there that I think um, it doesn't get enough attention in terms of what exactly it means. So I'd love for you to take a moment to just define what you feel insomnia means in just really simple human terms.
Yeah, human terms, sure.
Mhm.
So I agree. I do think there's this we're almost overcomplicating it to some extent, but I think as simple as I can make it is it's not being able to get restful sleep over an extended period of time.
Mhm.
It's when sleep feels hard, either falling asleep, staying asleep, waking up too early, not being able to fall back asleep. And even when you do sleep, you may still feel tired, foggy, and not fully rested. So, um, yeah, it's not just typically a bad night here or there. It's a pattern that affects how you feel during the day and how your body and mind recover at night.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
how common is insomnia? Can you break it down by gender as well?
Yeah, I can. Yeah. So I think it's far more common than people realize, unfortunately. About 1 in 3 people experience symptoms. So that could apply to, falling asleep, staying asleep, or waking up too early. And then around 10 to 15% actually struggle with a more chronic insomnia, meaning it happens regularly and really impacts their daily life. And when it comes to gender, I don't think we have perfect data on this, but we seem to there's studies that suggest that women actually are close to double as likely to experience insomnia than men. Hormonal changes, pregnancy, and especially like perimenopause can play a role, but uh, the other aspect of that, I have a hunch that there is an underreporting in men as well. Um, but all to say, it's more common than we think, and it tends to affect someone, if not yourself, someone in your life.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Um, I think one of the most amazing things that I've heard from you is how people don't actually have insomnia, like an illness,
Mm.
right? Like I have cancer, I have the cold, I have COVID. Um, can you elaborate on that for our viewers?
Yeah, I'd love to. Let's break that myth. Insomnia is not the root issue. It's a symptom, right? So what does that mean? It's your body saying, hey, something is not safe or settled here. So more specifically, it's the nervous system not feeling safe enough to let go at night, right? Sleep doesn't happen when we force it. Um, I can attest to trying that pretty well. In fact, it's the opposite when it tends to happen. Uh, so the root, as I call it, is the dysregulated nervous system, which tends to stem from three different places. The biological, so that's lifestyle, sleep hygiene, medical issues, and these things are spammed all over the internet. Then there's the psychological, right? How we associate with sleep, the our place, our purpose, um, rolls into that. And then lastly would be the emotional camp. So unprocessed emotions, either conscious or subconscious, that we bring into bed at night. So it's not a sleep problem. It's about what is causing your body to not feel safe enough at night to let go and to address it. You have to look at the whole system,
Yeah,
mind, body, heart.
exactly.
Yeah.
I often say to my sleep clients, especially clients who have older children or teens, that, you know, often the body, when there's something going on, it can come out. The symptoms can be very different. If someone is under a lot of stress, not everyone shows that stress in the same way, right? Some people get an ulcer. Some people have insomnia. Some people resort to eating a lot, right?
Right.
Or drinking, or biting their nails. There are lots of different ways that the body or a person can use coping mechanisms, or that stress can just start to appear. And so, I love your explanation because a lot of people can have the same kind of like root cause, but only some of them it will appear as insomnia for them, right?
Exactly. Yeah. What symptom you get from an original stressor, we don't know. But more and more this symptom of lack of sleep, hyperarousal is showing up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, what are the most common reasons people start experiencing insomnia, would you say?
But yeah, let's see, big question. And it's interesting because it can come from so many places for everyone, but often triggered by, stress, as we said. I
Hmm.
think change, emotional overwhelm, or a traumatic event is probably what I see most often. And so that can look like, job shift, relationship tension, becoming a parent, and even something subtle that builds up as daily pressure. And what happens there, the nervous system can get stuck in an on mode, right? And sleep becomes something that your body can't do easily, even when you're exhausted.
Hmm.
Um, it's also common that an initial trigger can create some sleep challenge, but it lingers because you develop that fear, anxiety around sleep, which keeps us caught in the loop. And that's more in that psychological camp. Um, I would say that I think the complaint I hear most often is my mind just won't shut off. And it's easy to think that that's the problem, right? And again, it's a symptom, right? And more than likely, there are unprocessed emotions that are underneath the surface looking to be, my buzzwords are, heard and seen and expressed, right? So the mind is busy because it's caught in a limbo trying to problem solve its way out of something that needs to be felt. So yeah, it comes from a few places, but largely I see it in the psychological and emotional buckets I talk about.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you think about, and then when what I see is life events, for good or for bad, whether that's trauma or something coming up. And I typically see a rise in insomnia with expecting parents. So my
Mm,
question is, what should they know about insomnia that most people overlook?
yeah. I'd say first that is temporary and your
Mhm.
sleep can and will return. Sometimes you may need support in doing so, but it will return. So let's start there.
Yeah.
Um, I think most people think it's just or can be just a physical discomfort or excitement, and it can be for a time, but generally it's deeper, right? This transition into parenthood is massive.
Hmm.
Identity, safety, responsibility, all of it shifts. That can create a truckload of activation on the nervous system,
Hmm.
stressors, fears. So just by bringing awareness around this being part of the process can help. And normalizing the fact that we are growing and stretching in our ability to handle what's to come. It's not just hormones, but it's our whole system preparing into change for both parents. Uh, so I come back to starting with grace. It's like giving our body grace for the journey it's embarking on. And it's amazing how just that can really take the edge off things and support a healing and growing process.
Exactly. And so just like becoming a new mom, a new parent, even starting a new job, moving into a new country, lots of life changes. It doesn't necessarily mean that, new moms have a different solution or have a different cause. Beyond the biological factors. I think that the way out of it, as you said, I think for a lot of people to realize that it can really be very, very much the same, no matter, what situation that you're in, right? It all comes back to sort of those same core principles.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's so many people come to me for various reasons, and not everyone actually with sleep, but different symptoms, right? But for my sleep folks, they can come for their sleep expressing in different ways. It's been, long term for 20 plus years or just a few months, and they're not, they fall asleep just fine, but they wake up 2 hours later, or the opposite, they can't fall asleep until about 2 hours before they have to wake up. So all of these, you know, how it expresses and then where it comes from. If you're had a big traumatic event in your life, physical or psychological, um, or just these minor stresses of work stress over all these years where you haven't actually looked at yourself instead or and taking care of yourself, been in alignment with yourself, all
Mhm.
of them come back to some of these basic pillars of like, how am I treating my body
Mhm.
physically, emotionally, and how am I caring for the mind psychologically, and how am I feeling and being in touch with the emotional body. So
Exactly.
yeah, those are fundamental pillars of this thing, and I've yet to see that disproven.
Exactly. So why is insomnia so common in new moms, even when their babies start sleeping for longer stretches?
An important question, and it relates to why it's there in the first place, right? The body feels like unsafe to let go. So here there is an added biological alertness, even once the baby sleeps, where the body is prone to being in a more alert and hypervigilant mode. So, from a survival standpoint, it makes sense, but this pattern can linger and be more intense depending on the amount of internal work or how healthy of a relationship you have with yourself. And even when babies start to sleep for longer periods of time and they're a few years old, and we'll see moms still struggling with their sleep. And this is the body saying it hasn't fully got the message that things are safe, right? Anxiety and fear can still be quite high. So in that case, we start with the conscious mind. We start by reconciling with our mind that it's actually safe for us to sleep and sleep well, and what things we might need to do to set up our environment so we can consciously agree with that. We also look to the mentality and appreciate, or sorry, we also look to mentally appreciate that what serves our child best is by being resourced as much as we can. And sleep is the most fundamental of them all. It's something I see a lot with moms later in life who have put themselves so far in in the priority list, so far down in the priority list that they forget on how to care for themselves. And it's, that old saying, like well, yeah, you put your air mask on first so you can support another. There's a lot of legitimacy to that. And I would say there's things that break that rule when it comes to motherhood because you will put your child first. And being able to not put yourself so far down that line at the very least is a pretty important aspect. So there's one big message I would like to share. And then we can work once we have sort of this conscious mind agreement, we can work on the body, the nervous system, um, reminding it that it's safe because until your system will feel safe, sleep will be a struggle. So we start with the conscious mind agreement and then work to embody that agreement in the body.
Yes, that's amazing. I've heard it from so many people, for example, who used IVF to have their baby,
Mhm.
who have gone through loss before actually having a child. And absolutely, there's trauma from all of that, of constantly fearing that at some point your 1 year old, your 3 year old, your 8 year old is not going to wake up the next morning, right? And it absolutely stems from somewhere, and we don't have to keep having that fear preventing us from being, that child's best parent, best protector, right? And I absolutely agree, and I feel like I tell this to my clients, customers, et cetera, all the time, is you really can't serve your child well. You can't protect them. You can't be your best for them if you're not putting yourself first. Um, you know, no child wants kind of like a half-assed, hug. Or like I told my daughter the other day, I was like, if I'm depressed, if I'm crying all the time, and then I try and, do things for you, I'm pretty sure you're not going to feel, so great about it, like a sad mommy trying to
Mhm.
trying to
Absolutely.
be there for you at swim practice or whatnot, right? Your child's not going to feel very good either. They want a happy parent. They want a parent who feels well resourced as well. So we really do have to put our oxygen mask on first in order to be there fully for our child, in order to be awake for our child, in order to make
Yeah.
the right decisions. Sometimes they're very tough decisions that we have to make as well, um, in order to protect them and keep them happy, right? So. Yeah, absolutely. We can't discount that support for ourselves. And sleep is not a luxury. Sleep, it really is a necessity for everything, for life.
Reach, reach. Absolutely. That's so important. We can't care for others unless we're caring for ourselves. It's hard to, there's the old adage of we can't love someone as much as until we are able to love ourselves, right? Can't
Yeah.
love them to the extent that we can only love ourselves. So it's, yeah, I think this rule absolutely applies just across the board and absolutely in parenthood.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Can't be a good CEO without sleep.
Right.
Be a
Yeah.
pretty crappy one though.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, that's awesome. Let me here hit the stop button. No, I mean taking new moms as that example. What role does the mental load of motherhood play in a mom's ability to relax and fall asleep, do you think?
Can you ask that again?
What role does the mental load of motherhood play in a mom's ability to relax and fall asleep?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's huge, right? It's the invisible to-do list, the planning, remembering, managing. It's like a, second full-time job that never ends. So when you finally get to bed, your body could still be holding on to all of it.
Mm-hmm.
And if there's no space in your day to regulate, offload, it shows up as racing thoughts, tension, and delayed sleep. So, um, learning to care for yourself pre, during, post is essential.
Absolutely. And what would you say the best advice, sorry, the what is the bad advice on the internet that people should avoid when it comes to insomnia? Because I know that there are a lot of folks who are spinning, trying to figure out, okay, what can I do? What are the three things or whatever it is that I
Mm,
be doing? And they've tried all of it. Or for the people who haven't even, gone to that depth, can we save them some time? And already tell them, to what to avoid, what to not even waste your time on.
yeah. Let's see here. Well, I'll start by saying I think I see this incredible fixation on trying to fix your sleep.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
This premise causes us to address it from like an angle that can only exacerbate sleep issues. This is the premise that sleep is the core issue and not the symptom. So if you think like thousands of supplements and plenty of medications trying to address it, some small percentage of people are being actually supported by this. It's rare that it's a long-term support because it's hard to override a nervous system that doesn't feel safe. I spent,
Mm-hmm.
years screwing around with sleep supplements and meds with almost no reprieve. So, the other place you see it is in all this talk around having perfect sleep hygiene.
Mm-hmm.
There are over 50 sleep hygiene tips out there. And if I were to have a healthy sleeper implement all of them,
Mm-hmm.
nine out of 10, 9 out of 10 times, they'll sleep worse because of how much pressure, forcefulness, fixation you are creating around sleep,
Yeah.
right? That control. So the body knows how to rest. We're
Yeah.
simply working towards getting back in touch with its natural ability. That's where I bring in this idea of letting go, especially initially, instead of how so much of us is because of what the internet provides right now and is spamming to us is all about trying to fix, which actually then creates this battle, almost us versus ourselves at night.
Mm-hmm.
So however letting go can be embodied is a huge first step. And I mean, don't get me wrong, sleep hygiene is great and certainly is important for some folks. Um, but again, every influencer on the internet preaches about its importance. And for all my clients, starting with doing less around sleep serves them best.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
so essentially we want to stop, attacking what we think the problem is. We think that the problem's around sleep, and so we should focus on sleep. We actually want to say, what's behind the sleep? Let's move sleep aside. Trusting that our body knows how to sleep and start trying to unpack, why our body doesn't feel safe. Is that kind of a good summary?
Yeah, absolutely. Like the aspect of letting go is yeah, again, trying to diffuse and take the tools out of our hands or the weapons out of our hands to try to fix sleep as if there's a problem, which then creates this battle. So I like to disarm first. And then moving into, yeah, of course, we still look at the biological. Are we nourishing ourselves? I mean, a version of self-love is like eating and moving well for whatever our body is capable of.
Yeah.
But then are we listening deeply to our intuition around what is lack of sleep trying to tell you?
Mm-hmm.
There is, if you just take that question and let yourself marinate in it, answers will come because the body, I mean, I can tell you from seeing the fanciest doctors, we know our bodies best than any other expert. And to be in touch with that requires listening. And
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of us that have ignored our emotions, our desires, and have put ourselves last. And this often is an opportunity to grow and heal. And it's knocking, lack of sleep is there to say we're knocking at the door to be heard, felt, and seen so we can grow and heal into a new, freer, more loving self.
Yeah. Absolutely. And to also, I think the very first step is to refocus, to reframe this situation, this problem as it's not a sleep problem. So once somebody, even they don't even have to subscribe to it, they can just, for a couple weeks say, okay, you know what? I'm gonna see if that makes sense to me. This is not a sleep problem. So what else could it be? And then opening up the door to start listening for whatever else is coming through. I love this frustrates parents that I work with, but I actually love this as an example where if you ask a child, if you ask a 4-year-old, why is it hard for them to sleep? Why is it hard for them to stay in their bedroom? Why is it hard for them, when you say goodnight, for them to stay
Hmm.
in their bed and fall asleep? They'll often say, I'm afraid of monsters. I'm afraid of ghosts. There's, something in the closet. There's shadows that are scary. It all relates back to fear, right?
Mm,
And the awesome thing about, the child who doesn't have all of those coping mechanisms and walls kind of built up yet, and think like, oh, well, it's insomnia, right? The awesome thing about that freedom is that they're already able to very clearly say that this is fear-based, that there's some anxiety or some fear or something going on, right? And so you already have a very, very clear kind of indication of where we need to start hunting. And so for an adult to be able to kind of get rid of um, some of the barriers that we put into place, the rational thought, et cetera, and to be able to kind of dig deeper and saying, okay, it's not a sleep issue. What could it be? As you're lying there at 4 in the morning, not able to fall back to sleep, wondering why your mind is racing, could we think about other things that are not, physical, bodily function related things?
exactly. I mean, like how many times I've heard people be like, well, I just have high cortisol.
Hmm.
Okay, great. I mean, yeah, join the club. Like
There's
I
a
had
reason
the
for that.
highest cortisol, but like why? Why do you have high cortisol?
Yeah.
And so, we'll think about it. Well, I have high cortisol, so I'm up in the middle of the night or, whatever. That's just one of
Hmm.
10,000 stories you can tell yourself. So I look for this right supplement or do the
Mm.
right practice or start tapping, whatever. Like, I mean, some of these practices are great, but why? Why am
Mm.
I, why is my body stuck in such a fight or
Hmm.
flight state or in
Yeah.
this fear state as these children recognize that? I that I am presenting with
Hmm.
such high cortisol, presenting with such high arousal
Yeah.
that I wake up and I don't feel safe enough to fall
Hmm.
back asleep.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay, well, let's talk about what people should consider, in terms of seeking help.
Mm.
When do you think someone should go to, an expert, a professional? What is there a threshold,
Yeah, I honestly like if you're tired during the day. I mean, and
Hmm.
I think there's different thresholds what you of when and who you might need to see. But like if you are struggling falling asleep or just staying asleep, but I'd say the best litmus test is actually for a good sleep is do I feel rested during the day? Do I have the energy I need to do all the things that I like to do? And if the answer is no, well, then there's something likely to look at. If you don't have the energy to get through the day, that means there is something up. And again, that could mean, all right, biologically, something's going on here. I might need to consider how my um, nutrition is affecting me, how my lifestyle is affecting me, and then we get also more so into these psychological and emotional aspects that is that causing lower quality sleep even if you sleep through the night. It
Yeah.
doesn't mean that you're getting full rest
Yeah.
and your sleep might be broken. And I'm not a big fan necessarily of trackers because again I think what your body knows as do I feel rested, how do I feel mood wise, how do I have sustained energy through the day,
Hmm.
can I get through it without having to take a nap? These are all indications that all right, sleep isn't at the quality that we deserve.
Yeah. Absolutely. Even little things like that start to creep up, like it takes you less than 5 minutes to fall asleep,
Mm.
or it takes you more than an hour to, you know what I mean? So falling asleep way too fast or taking way too long also are sometimes some of the very first indicators. Or if you do feel like, oh, I'm getting 8 hours sleep every single night, but
Yeah.
I'm so tired. Are you falling asleep as soon as your head hits the pillow? That's actually not a good thing.
Right. Right. Yeah. If you're so desperately tired that you just make it to the pillow and there's something to look at.
Pass out.
Yeah.
Okay, so final question before we talk
Yeah.
about your community, which I really want to make sure we have time for. What would you say to a mom who feels like she will never sleep deeply or feel rested again?
Mm, you're not broken. You're not broken. So let's come back to giving you and your body some grace as you navigate a beautiful but new and challenging experience. What your body has done and is capable of is truly incredible. And I can only begin to appreciate that. But I know getting your body back to deep rest is absolutely available to you. And it knows how. It knows how to sleep. It was born to do so. It just needs to feel safe, seen, supported, and with the right tools and space to process, restful sleep will return.
Absolutely. It's not just it's not a badge of honor to, say that I don't sleep anymore as a mom. It doesn't make you a mom. It doesn't make you a good mom.
Right.
Doesn't mean that because I'm a mom or because I'm getting older, now I have to subscribe to a life of poor sleep. It really, really doesn't. And we should not normalize these types of effects on our bodies, especially in these years, guys. We're not like 80 years old. This is
Right.
our
Right.
life is not over yet.
Right.
I want to make sure we have time. So please tell us more about your community because I really think that this is such an awesome place, no matter where you're coming through on your journey, whether you're listening to this for the very first time and just starting to consider that maybe, insomnia is not a thing, maybe there's something beneath it, or whether you have tried everything, seen every expert and say, you know what, nothing is going to fix me. Just like my aunt, she has tried every acupuncture treatment, every cleanse on earth. She can't fix her sleep. So I would love to learn more about your community because I really do think that everyone, no matter what stage you're at, could absolutely benefit from it.
Yeah, I am so proud of this thing. I've been doing the one-on-one coaching, for 8 years now, and this year decided, and I knew the need was there, just figuring out how to do it, decided to make a sleep support community. I called it my Healing Sleep Inner Circle, and it's been fantastic to see how not doing this alone, how much of an impact that makes. I know for myself, like there was one person on that 10-year journey, just one, that really understood what I was going through. All the doctors, healers, whoever I was seeing, it's just like they got it. It's like, all right, it sucks. Sleep's important. But the chronic lack of sleep, it's
Mhm.
so foundational. And when you don't even have access to like normal levels of neurotransmitters, it can be difficult to experience joy.
Mhm.
So having a community that you can remind yourself that you aren't alone in this, that you're witnessing people healing and going through the process, and you're also witnessing um, people growing in their ability to connect with themselves, express, be honest. That helps pave the path for you to do so as well. And so the community is community first. Then I also have a sleep course videos that you for all aspects, no matter what, again, where you're coming from. There's a focus on the biological, the psychological and the emotional. And then we have my probably favorite part of it are the live calls. So we have sleep support calls, Q&As, a meditation every week. And it's so special to witness people supporting one another. And I'm in every single one of those calls. And as this continues to grow, I'm just going to add more and more to it. But it's really special. Yeah. And I feel lucky to be a part of it.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
It was so good being able to chat with you. Thank you so much for taking the time to do this. I think that together we're going to help so many folks of all walks of life get back their sleep. And, it's my firm belief that when you get good sleep, you can do awesome things. And just imagine all the world getting much better sleep. It would be incredible.
mm, yeah, it would be a game changer. It affects everything. So that is my wish for the world. If we could all rest a little bit more, and what that would offer you would be insurmountable for your life and the people around you.
Totally. Well, we're going to put a link to your community and various
Great.
resources just below in the comments and link in bio, everywhere, wherever you're watching this video, that you're going to be able to access more information on your community. So please take a visit. He's got even more resources than what he's talking about here in this video. And absolutely, we are fully aligned. Sleep of mind. That's how we were born, out of the idea that there's a lot more to getting great sleep than I think that what people realize. So thank you for coming on that journey with us.
Absolutely. And thank you for having me. And I appreciate you also paving the way and supporting people with their rest. And so it was special to be here today.